San Diego Comic-Con brings an insane amount of new reveals as Jordan Peele's Nope premieres in theaters. I'm Joe Acierno.
And I'm Darius Delsoin. This is Cinema Unchained.
All right, what is up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the one and only Cinema Unchained podcast. Got a fantastic show for you lined up today. You know, a lot was revealed this past weekend, particularly at the San Diego Comic-Con. But before we dive into all of that, if you want more honest, fun, and engaging talks about movies, TV, and everything in between, don't forget to smack that subscribe button and ring the bell to get all notifications whether you're on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Now, before we talk about Jordan Peele's Nope, as of us recording this podcast episode, it actually may still be going on, but San Diego Comic-Con was basically all the rave this past weekend in terms of like just news and updates having anything to do with like movies and TV and everything like that. But like one of my most fond moments of like, you know, all that happening was Darius just feeding me rapid fire developments. And because like him and I are both in a group chat with a couple of buddies of ours. And he's just giving us update after update after update. I'm like, is he watching this live? Like, what's going on? Like, how is he like so up to date with all this? And how is he's just getting so much of this so quickly and just spitting it out to us so fast? Like, you said you were following like the live like Twitter feed or whatever, right? Is that what you said?
Basically, so what they do is that the whole actual panel is not live because they have exclusive footage just for people who go to San Diego Comic-Con, just like for New York Comic-Con, that sort of thing. So I'm just following because I knew it was starting relatively in the late afternoon because we're on the East Coast, so I had to compensate for that. So basically, the second I heard one announcement, I just dropped on Twitter and I just stayed there for like a good hour and a half getting all the news to text it to all of you guys.
Who needs IMDb when you have Darius following Marvel's live Twitter?
Hey, when I go in on this stuff, I go in.
Yeah, no, that's an understatement right there. So like obviously, you know, there were like a lot of reveals, like not just having to do with like Marvel Cinematic Universe, not just with like, you know, DC, but like a lot of like other like real modern day pop culture icons. Like I know the trailer for John Wick 4 was revealed. Now, little secret that I'm not so proud of. I've actually never seen any of the John Wick films, so I didn't bother like really getting into that one. I didn't bother watching the trailer for the fourth one. But Darius, so you're a fan of those movies, right?
Yes, love John Wick 1, 2, 3 was pretty good. I'm excited for 4 just from this trailer. Donnie Yen, just yes. Sign me the fuck up. Yes. I'm excited.
It's interesting that you say that because like I've heard good things about the John Wick movies, but I feel like I heard the best things about the third one. So are you saying you didn't like the third one as much as you did the first two?
Oh no, I love the third one. I think I'm just thinking back again, it's just like I loved all of them, but I think one has a more special place in my heart compared to the other ones, just because of how different it was at the time. And in 3, kind of every John Wick movie just escalates. It just escalates and escalates, and I love it. As far as action-wise, I think John Wick 3 has some of my favorite action because it was bonkers. He's on motorcycles with katanas. I'm not spoiling too much. It was in the trailer, so Joe, you better get watching to that. But yeah, like I love the John Wick franchise. I like Keanu Reeves. It was great to see him. And a lot of other people kind of reconnect in this type kind of franchise. And, you know, considering that they're even getting action stars and everything, martial artists into this franchise, including John Wick 4 with freaking Donnie Yen, I'm excited. I'm very excited for this movie.
Do you know when exactly it's supposed to come out? Like I know it's next year, but like do you know like
I think
the date?
they said March of next year, so sooner rather than later.
Oh, it's funny that you mentioned March of next year. Another trailer that was released during Comic-Con was Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves. Now, I think it was you that originally sent me the trailer for this one. And the first thing that I thought to myself was, why are they doing this? Why are they doing this? You know, I'm not going to lie. Like, I've gotten every taste of Dungeons and Dragons that I needed, like just watching Stranger Things. You know, so like I feel like this doesn't feel necessary. Like, why are they doing this? You know, movies based on board games don't necessarily have the best track record for whatever reason. And based on what I've seen so far, at least with this trailer, Honor Among Thieves, this looks like this will be no different. Like, am I being a little too harsh here, or like, what do you think? Do you have you ever actually played Dungeons and Dragons, Darius? Because I never have.
Yep. My dad's a full geek. He got me into a lot of the geek stuff, so I embraced a lot of it. I like Dungeons and Dragons, and to be honest, I'm excited about this movie.
Really?
Okay. I did not expect to be excited because I expected to be like, all right. But this just looks like they know what it is, and it is a dumb, crazy, fun game, and everyone should hopefully enjoy it. And that's the vibe I got from it. I'm actually excited. I definitely want to see it for sure, actually. So we'll see. It just looks dumb fun, and I'm happy that they're kind of embracing it. And they're like, just come in here, have a good time, that sort of thing. You know, all the classes, and I'm like, you know what? Yeah, why not? Why not?
Yeah, I feel like, and again, like, that is a good point. That it just seems like dumb fun. I mean, it was just for me. Like, I could definitely enjoy things that are dumb fun here and there, but like, for whatever reason, just watching this, like, it just doesn't feel like the sort of dumb fun that I'll be able to enjoy. Again, maybe I'm wrong, but every time I hear, like, classic rock music played over, like, a fantasy movie trailer of some kind, like, I almost never get a good feeling. I'm like, all right, they're trying to manipulate us into watching this movie with, I believe, I think it was a Led Zeppelin song. Like, I've seen this before, and it's not giving me a good feeling. Not gonna lie, though, I'm getting, like, kind of like Mortal Kombat vibes from that trailer. Is it just me?
I got a bit of that. Definitely in the visual effects department. I think that was a big key from that. And I think even to a certain extent how it was edited and just the vibe from it. Because again, Dungeons and Dragons is a game, so you're kind of adapting a game where a lot of people sort of, when they play it, it's a very imaginative, and you have the dungeon master basically telling the narrative, what happens, this and that and the other. So this is going to be an interesting approach from a film perspective, because a lot of things are going to have to be even very concrete instead of the usual Dungeons and Dragons that a lot of people play. So I'm still curious. I'm still honestly pretty excited about it just because it looks dumb fun. And they're embracing that.
Yeah, as long as, again, like, certain movies are just bad, but the ones that I think end up doing better are the ones that know what they are, even if they don't appeal to, certain groups of people.
Exactly.
And let's be real, no movie appeals to like every sector of society. But at the same time, again, like the ones that know what they are, that don't take themselves as seriously, don't end up falling on their face as hard most of the time.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So yeah. I'm excited for this movie, to be honest, so...
Yeah. So, I mean, listen, I think I've made the point on the show before, like, okay, there are movies that I want to see for my own enjoyment, and then there are movies that I'll see just for the sake of having stuff to talk about on this show. This one falls into the latter category, so I guess we'll end up seeing it. But yeah, this is set to come out on March 3rd of 2023. Now, moving on to some other things. So, like, we got a lot of, like, the other things out of the way with things that are Marvel and DC. I think it was really the Marvel and the DC things that really really sucked up most of the oxygen in the room when it's come so far to the San Diego Comic-Con, particularly with the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Phases 5 and 6, get both the details. And Phase 6 was really just announced, right?
Yep, Phase 6.
So now where do both of them begin? Like, where's Phase 4 supposed to end, and where's Phase 5 supposed to begin? And where's Phase 5 supposed to end, and where's Phase 6 supposed to begin?
Phase 4 is supposed to be starting... we're already in Phase 4. Phase 4 is literally about to end. They said Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, that's basically the ending of Phase 4. Phase 5 starts off with Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania, where we get the introduction of, obviously, Kang the Conqueror, and newly announced, one of my favorite of the Marvel villains, MODOK. He's an interesting person. And so that's supposed to be starting on Phase 4, and it ends, I forgot what movie ends it, but I know with Phase 5, Fantastic Four starts, Phase 5 is Quantumania, my bad. Phase 5 is Ant-Man Quantumania. Phase 6 starts off with Fantastic Four and ends with 2 Avengers movies. Yes, they actually announced 2 Avengers movies in 1 year.
What was the hold on, so okay, so now the 2 Avengers movies that they announced, that's Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars. Both of those kick off Phase 6, or one ends Phase 5 and the other one starts Phase 6?
So I know Fantastic Four starts Phase 6. I don't remember which movie ends Phase 5, but Fantastic Four starts Phase 6, and it ends with Avengers Secret Wars.
Got it, okay. And then I'm assuming Kang Dynasty is in Phase 6,
yes.
right?
Same year,
okay.
2025.
Okay. Yeah, I'm looking for, at least with Fantastic Four alone, like, I want to see if they finally, I'm not going to say just, like, finally get it right, because I do like, the Silver Surfer movie that came out in 2007, but, like, I know, like, that one and the one that came out before and the one with Miles Teller from 2015, like, those weren't necessarily, like, the best received, even though, again, I do personally like the Silver Surfer one. I think it gets a little too much crap. But I want to see if they finally make it so that way it's actually widely received well. Like, the Spider-Man movies, however many of them that they are, they're widely well received, and, they're a staple in culture. I want to see if they finally achieve that with the Fantastic Four. Because they've been around for a long time. Like, they're one of the more iconic Marvel comic franchises.
Yeah.
So then it's just interesting how it's taken so long for them to really, like, take off the ground. And then you have, the Guardians of the Galaxy, right? They were fairly obscure when that first movie came out in 2014. Now, again, they became more famous, of course, after the movies. Then, of course, you have Guardians 3, which is supposed to come out next year, right? That one I'm actually looking forward to.
Yes, I am. They even announced the villain in that one. The actor in Peacemaker, the black guy, he's playing the villain. He's playing the High Evolutionary in Ant-Man 3. Guardians 3, my bad. So many stuff got announced, my bad. In Guardians 3, so I like him in Peacemaker. It's going to be seen to what he does in this one. And we're also going to be seeing, from what they said, more of Rocket's origin. So, yeah.
Gotcha.
So, yeah.
Okay, it's funny enough that I think it was, I forgot who exactly I was having this conversation with recently. Like, the Marvel Cinematic Universe in a lot of ways is turning more into a mixed bag. I do feel like the content overall, what they're putting out there, is starting to decline. And I remember thinking to myself, like, wow, like, there isn't so much that I'm really looking forward to anymore. But after this weekend and, like, everything that was announced and, everything that was announced and everything that was shown off, I'm like, all right, like, now I have some more hope. I'm sure there's still some fundamental flaws there. Like, I do think that they need to slow production of certain things down so that way it doesn't feel so convoluted, so that way everything doesn't feel like so copy and paste. But with certain things that I've seen, there is some hope. Mainly, one of the things that I feel like there's some real hope for, other than Guardians 3, other than Fantastic Four, other than the 2 Avengers movies that were announced, Black Panther 2. I was, again, like, I wasn't really looking forward to it so much. I didn't think the first one was bad. I thought the first one was a solid movie, but for whatever reason, the second one, I'm like, we'll see what happens. I think mainly because, like, Chadwick Boseman is not there anymore. I think that it seems like the T'Challa character, they seem to have been, memorialized it. But after watching this trailer, I got to be honest, it looks really, really interesting. This is the first thing I've swakanda in a while that can actually distinguish itself from the rest of the MCU, at least what I feel, and that's the impression that I got from this trailer. What do you think?
Yeah, Wakanda Forever, this was an interesting one. I was very worried, mainly because, the late Chadwick Boseman, rest in peace, and just how I viewed him as T'Challa. Like, to me, he was the perfect like, there's a lot of actors that we associate almost as perfect casting for some of these roles. Robert Downey Jr. for Iron Man.
You read my mind.
Hugh Jackman for Wolverine. Like, there's so many there's some actors that are just so iconic. And I think at this point, some people say even Chris Evans for Captain America. That's how people feel. And even to a certain extent, I do too. And, with Chadwick Boseman's passing, I got really worried about how they were going to do it. And I knew I had a feeling, and I remember from what Ryan Coogler said a while ago as well, he wanted to introduce Namor himself as well in a sequel, possibly. He wanted to explore that, and I'm happy they're doing Namor. I think he looks great. I think the inclusion or that mix of it looks like Aztec mythology and empire is there, which has me very interested because I like the Aztec, part of our history and everything. So I'm really curious about how this is all going to connect. Who's the new Black Panther? Have some theories. And just from the beginning, because I think that beginning trailer is so strong, so impactful. It really gets you in those emotions because you see what actually happens in Wakanda, and they're kind of playing, or at least what actually happened in real life with Chadwick, and actually implementing it into the story. And I gotta give it to Angela Bassett. My gosh, she can put on a performance. Holy
that
cow.
monologue, that was her giving that monologue throughout the trailer, right?
Yes, like just when she started speaking, I was like, she exudes power. Like this is the queen. I love it. So I'm actually excited for this. I hope it's good.
Here, and one of the things that makes me more confident about this film is the fact that Ryan, how do you say his last name? Is it Ryan Coogler? Like, how do you say his last name?
Ryan Coogler.
Ryan Coogler? Okay, I thought I heard it pronounced in, some other way, somewhere else. Anyway, ignore me. One of the things that makes me confident in this film is the fact that he's coming back to direct this film. He did a solid job on the first one. I felt like it would have been really weird if they got someone else to do this. He's a solid filmmaker. He did a great job on the first Creed film. So there's a lot so far that this movie actually seems to have going for it. And I do think that this has potential to be one of the standouts in the Marvel Cinematic Universe because, as of late, this feels like the only thing that we've gotten that could really carry some sort of emotional weight and, again, find a way to stand out from, the rest of, what the MCU is putting out there. And it looks like it'll expand the lore in an interesting way, too. Again, I'm not much of a, I've said 1,000 times on the show. I'll continue to say it 1,000 times on the show. I'm not the biggest comic book fan in the world. I can't remember the last time I picked up a comic book. But the way, from what I saw, I'm like, okay, the lore they're expanding it, and I'm intrigued. I'm interested.
Yep. So same here. And it's I like that they're exploring Wakanda a bit more. It looks like some form of betrayal might happen. Again, there's a lot of information in the trailers. I think some people, you really got to dissect it. And again, and this includes, for me, the inclusion of the villain or / anti-hero, Namor the Submariner. Been around in Marvel for years. And it looks like they drastically changed his origin. And I'm really interested in how, again, visually it looks like, his armor, some of the stuff looks very Aztec Empire-ish, and how that's going to implement into that storyline. And so I'm really curious with that character, his arc in this movie, and hoping for a Namor solo film in the future.
Yeah, it's Marvel. They're gonna if Namor ends up being somewhat well received, they're gonna do some kind of solo film or solo TV show for that. So Wakanda Forever is actually set to go into theaters November 11th of this year. Now, before we get into everything with DC, right? I know I just said okay, certain things that were revealed at the San Diego Comic-Con make me more hopeful for the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and then you have She-Hulk. You have the newest trailer for She-Hulk, Attorney at Law. What a ridiculous title, by the way. It's just so cringe. It still looks like trash. CGI still looks terrible. And again, just from what I got from this trailer alone, it already looks like she's already too good at everything. You know what I mean? Where's the struggle in learning to wrestle with your powers and everything like that? Looking back at this in comparison to the sequel Star Wars trilogy, right? For much of the trilogy, Rey, she was just too good at everything. I felt like the stakes weren't there as much. There wasn't a struggle. I didn't really, I didn't really have much of a chance to root for her because I had no doubt that she'd just be fine in the end. It didn't feel like there was much of a struggle. There were certain conflicts here and there, but I feel like the development was done almost too quickly with her. And I feel like with what they're showing so far in the She-Hulk trailer, that's how I feel it's going to be with her. She's already too developed. And I'm going to be honest, with what we've seen so far, I'm going to have a hard time rooting for this one. She just does not seem like a very, I don't know if relatable character is the best way to put it, but maybe sympathetic or empathetic. But I don't know, it's just going to be very hard to root for her for whatever reason. I don't know if I just can't find the words right now, but I don't know. I don't know if there's a certain charisma that's lacking. I don't know if there's just a certain presence that's lacking. I'm just not sure whatever it is, but whatever it is so far, she just doesn't have it. According to the trailer. So so maybe I'm wrong.
I'm in the same boat. I'm still not excited. The CGI does not look good. And even that scene when they were like testing each other with strength, and she just happens to throw it farther, and it's like, one, you can tell she put a bit more oomph in it, and then two, it's like, I don't know why they do what they do with the Hulk. I'm sorry, I still don't like it. He's just a comedic tool at this point, it feels like. And this show just feels forced in a lot of ways. The only reason I'm going to watch this, or at least one of the episodes, is because my man Charlie Cox Daredevil is back. That is the only reason. I want to see him, but that is the only reason.
Okay. All right, yeah. Because I was going to say, I thought I saw Daredevil at the end of that trailer. Like, that, with the nunchucks or, like, the rods or whatever. That was him, right?
That was Daredevil, the one we saw in Spider-Man No Way Home. Same actor. He is back in the MCU, and he's going to be appearing in She-Hulk. First appearance.
Okay, the only bit of hope that I have for this show, ironically, it's not Charlie Cox, because, again, I never really saw much of the Daredevil, but it's Tim Roth. Mm-hmm. Tim Roth as Abomination. I think he's a solid actor. I vaguely remember the Incredible Hulk film from 2008, but I remember him being an interesting villain. But again, I'm sure they're going to waste him. They're going to waste him. They're going to waste him. They're going to waste his talent. Another thing too, why is Wong from Doctor Strange in there?
I don't know either. I saw that and I'm like, why is he in this? What's going on? It feels like they're trying to go, again, it feels like they have some form of direction. But again, considering Phase 4 is about to end, and we're getting into Phase 5, it's still a bit off-putting, because it's like we don't even have all the confirmation for Phase 6 movies. I think from Phase 5 to Phase 6, there's an idea of where they're going, but again, I don't think things are as concrete as it should be at the moment, and I think Wong being in this movie just kind of takes it all over the place, tonally, mood. It's just, it doesn't feel right. So,
yeah. So all in all, I would say, at least on the Marvel end of things, there's definitely more good than bad that came out of San Diego Comic-Con.
Oh yeah.
But now moving over a bit to DC, I'm surprised we haven't talked about this on the show yet. But Black Adam got another trailer, and I'm going to be real. I've seen the first trailer, before, movie presentations, in the theater for a while now. And this actually looks good. It looks good. Looks visually similar to, other DC films. Again, I got, Zack Snyder vibes from this one. And it's weird. I thought about this, and I'm like, after watching the first trailer, it's like, okay, he's seemingly invincible, right? I'm like, all right, is this going to be as compelling? But I'm like, you know what? That's not where the conflict really is. The conflict isn't whether he struggles to learn his powers or be a force to be reckoned with. The struggle comes with how conflicted he is and what path he wants to take with all of his powers too, considering certain things that he went through, like what happened to his son before he got the powers. I'm like, you know what? This seemingly invincible man, is he a hero? Is he a villain? Is he an anti-hero? So just for that internal conflict alone, I'm actually looking forward to Black Adam more than I thought I would be.
Nice. Yes, I got another one hooked. For me, that second trailer, oh my gosh, it looks great. I'm a Black Adam fan. I love Black Adam. I'm excited.
I can tell.
And I'm excited to see what The Rock can do with this character. I know this is his passion project. He's been wanting to play. He announced he was Black Adam years ago. And now it's coming to fruition. It's great to see the likes of Hawkman and Dr. Fate looks incredible. I'm really curious to see how they're going to dive into the mythology of him and Kahndaq, his origin, him as a slave. I wonder if the slave moments of his life they're actually going to dive into, or they're kind of going to skim it over just to get to the sake of the Justice Society and all of that later in the film. So it's going to be interesting. I'm wondering, I think the biggest worry I have is how well balanced this is. I think.
What do you mean by balanced?
So balanced meaning a mixture of the tone, because I know The Rock also has a comedic sense to him. And I know that, a good chunk of Black Adam's life, especially before he became Black Adam, Teth Adam, that's his name, he was a slave and he's been through a lot of stuff. So I hope that they really emphasize in like a lot of those dramatic elements and really stretch The Rock's acting into that, because I think that some good magic can be happened into that. So overall, great looking trailer. He looks amazing. Yes, that is not a padded suit. That is all him. I'm pumped.
Yeah. And again, I to build off your point as far as like, okay, like I guess the overall tone is what you were talking about before. Like I'm not getting comedic vibes from this film at all. Yet again, this is all marketing, this is all trailer, so of course it's only speculative at this point. But at the same time, again, just from the fact that this definitely seems to have like, you know, a more dramatic feel to it all. And I'm still convinced that The Rock is, you know, I think he'll be fine. I think he's definitely got the charisma, he's got the presence, and I believe him as this sort of hardened quasi anti-hero, like whatever he ends up being. So I'm fairly confident in this one. I'd love to see him go up against Superman.
Funny you mentioned that, because during the panel, someone asked him, would you want to fight against Superman? And he said, it depends on who's playing him. We'll see. We'll see.
We'll see. But yeah, this one is set to go into theaters October 21st of this year, and literally 2 months after that, you have Shazam: Fury of the Gods, which got like the first official, like I guess like the first official teaser or trailer, whatever you want to call it. And so far, this feels like more of the same, like, you know, like the first. A similar tone definitely seems to be there. You know, there's nothing so far that blows me away, and I think that's in large part because like I'm kind of lukewarm on the first film. Like it was fine, you know, it was entertaining, it was a good time, but you know that's pretty much it. Like it doesn't really stand out as much more. It feels very much like your typical like cheesy family comedy, even though if I'm not mistaken, these films are rated PG-13.
Yeah, I understand that. I liked Shazam. I really liked the first one. I thought it was pretty good. So I'm actually excited for this one. I'm excited to see David F. Sandberg really expand the mythology of Shazam, really expand going into the Greek gods and why they're after him, and even a bit of that. What I really like about this one, and it seems like the theme is ongoing. In the first one, it was Billy Batson accepting he has a new family, or, you know, that yearning for that family, even though his mother essentially gave him up, you know. And at the end of the first one, he's in this new family, he's accepted it, he enjoys it. Where this one, it feels like everyone is disconnected, and he kind of wants to bring it all back. Not just, of course, for the saving the world, but also a bit of, you know, for the sake of himself as well. So maybe a bit of selfishness in there. It will be interesting to see how that is balanced out. But it's great to see that family dynamic is still going on and really even expanded upon a bit more. And of course, you know, like he says in the Fast and Furious franchise, it's all about family.
Yeah. You know, I actually really loved that reference to the Fast and Furious movies as he's talking to Helen Mirren, who made a couple of appearances in the Fast and Furious movies. I'm like, all right, I see what you're doing. So, all right, like that tickled me a little bit. But one thing that I think, one of the smart moves that I think was made with this film, it was originally supposed to come out like about a week before, I think December 16th, right? Somewhere in that time frame, which is the same release date as Avatar 2. And I remember talking about that on the show. I'm like, okay, they're going to be duking it out at the box office. I don't see Shazam beating Avatar 2. I just don't see it beating the sequel to like one of, if not the highest grossing films of all time. So I think them pushing it back a week was definitely the smarter move. Still a bit risky because again, a movie like that, a movie like Avatar 2, or like many or most of like the big blockbuster films, like, you know, people are going to be seeing it for weeks and weeks and weeks after that. So Shazam 2 is still going to have to contend with Avatar 2. But again, you know, considering the fact that Shazam, it's a sequel to, you know, it's a DC film, I think there's still some hope for it, at least like making its money back.
Yeah, absolutely. Hopefully we'll have to wait and see, but yeah, overall, Shazam: Fury of the Gods, very excited. And even the other announcements that Marvel made, like, you know, Captain America: New World Order, that should be interesting. Thunderbolts, and of course, The Man Without Fear coming back in his own 18+ series, Daredevil: Born Again, with Kingpin coming back. Same actors. I'm excited. Cautiously optimistic, but excited.
Yeah, so all in all, like definitely a lot that was revealed at San Diego Comic-Con this last week. And, again, for all of you, what did you think of everything that was revealed? Did we miss anything in our discussion? 'Cause I feel like we covered a lot of bases, but, there's a lot that was revealed. So maybe there's something that you wanted to hear a bit more of. Again, whatever it is, whatever you thought of this talk, leave your thoughts wherever it is that you can. And if, again, as per usual, don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, and hit the bell to get all notifications, whether you're on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. And now to end off the show, again, the other big topic that we have for today, we're going to be talking about Jordan Peele's new film, Nope. After a UFO is discovered in a small rural California town, two ranch hand siblings attempt to capture video footage of the UFO's existence in order to make some money. Film stars Daniel Kaluuya. How do you say his last name? Kaluuya or Kaluuya?
Kaluuya, I think.
Kaluuya. Yeah. Stars Daniel Kaluuya, Keke Palmer, and Stephen Young. But overall, I would have to say, this feels fairly different from Jordan Peele's other films. Like, is it just me?
Yep, it felt very different. It felt like he still had it's like, at this point, I wouldn't even consider it horror. It's more thriller, sci-fi thriller. I think that's...
Or suspense. The film was very, very suspenseful.
Oof.
That's one of the things that stands out the most about this film. Jordan Peele, from what he's proven, and especially with this film, he's a modern-day master of horror and suspense. Again, suspense more than anything. I think the suspense was probably the most masterfully executed in this film, even more so than Get Out, even more so than Us. And, both of them are very well-done films. But this was just like everything on just a much, much bigger scale. Like, I really appreciated the overall ambition of this film. And it definitely feels like Jordan Peele is tackling new ground. So I respect him for that, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this film, like you said, with suspense, it's a masterclass of that. Like, he is so good at creating that suspense, creating that tension. There's a certain scene that I was just like, what? But then something happened. I was like, oh wow, he got me good, because he subverted expectations, and I think he did it in a good way, especially beforehand. And so I'm rather curious. Like, I don't know. Like, he just subverted expectations like 2-3 times to the point where I was just like, oh boy, I really did not know where certain things were going. So that was a big thing of his storytelling, and even in this film, that is interesting, and I can understand why some people may not like it.
I mean, if it's one thing I will say, like, there are certain things about certain rules of the world and context that didn't make sense overall, but I really did appreciate, the originality of this film's take on, like, the UFO subgenre of sci-fi. And I don't want to give away too much, but the directions they took that in, I thought that was really cool. I didn't feel like that was something that had been done over and over and over again.
Yeah, for sure. It's weird, because I expected almost just a regular, almost Jordan Peele movie in the range of Get Out and Us, but to a certain extent, I didn't really get that. I got something more. I think that's how I felt. I got something more than I thought, and at certain points, I didn't know how I felt, mainly because so much was happening, and there's so many layers and to certain actions and scenes that people may not be getting just yet later on, and even at a later date after watching it, I'm like, all right, I feel like I have an idea of what he was going for, or where things were going. So I watched it too. So I was like, let me see what other people are thinking, like, just out of curiosity. But overall, I think for me, I really enjoyed this. Had an amazing time seeing it in IMAX. That was definitely an experience. And I think how he tackled, like you said, the UFO, that genre, that idea, and twisted it was fascinating and interesting. And I think this is another movie of his that'll make people think too. That's another one.
Yeah, and again, like, going back, keeping on what you're saying with IMAX, again, like, this is definitely, I think, the biggest imagery that he's ever put on there. I think it's definitely the biggest sound design that he's ever put on there. So if you can see this in IMAX, I highly recommend seeing this in IMAX, because this is without a doubt the biggest film I've ever seen from Jordan Peele, and just watching it in IMAX like made me understand and really appreciate the scale of the film that much more.
Yeah. I do think that there are certain narrative points that they wanted to explore, or at least explain, but they didn't really fully explain, and it didn't make sense within the context of certain time periods and how long things have been. How someone would know about a certain event, and even again, it's like I can't really say too much because it will spoil it fundamentally. So, but it's that thing where as much as I want to try to go into detail with a lot of this stuff, I can't. And I just want to tell people that if you're still unsure, go see it in a theater. Like, you just see it yourself, make up your own mind. But there's a lot of dense, layered material, metaphors in this film that is just profoundly there, and it's just incredible in my opinion. That's just, and again, I can, after even leaving the theater, I've overheard some people saying they not like it, or they weren't sure how they felt about certain scenes, certain revelations, and me, even as a viewer, I could understand that. You know, I personally liked it, but I can understand why some people may not be too keen on this movie because of some of the things that happen at a later date. But yeah.
Yeah. You know, I think I was definitely one of those people that wasn't 100% sure how he felt walking out of the theater, but like the more I thought about it, and I think I watched a video that you sent me, like as far as like explaining certain things, and I'm like, all right, that makes more sense, and I did end up appreciating the movie that much more. Again, I think Peele's direction is one of the things that this film has going for it. What did you think of the performances?
I thought I liked Daniel Kaluuya. You know, I always liked him in a lot of roles. So seeing him, Keke Palmer was the one role I was very worried about because I'm not too big of a Keke Palmer fan, nor do I like her acting necessarily all the time. I thought she was fine in this. I think with what Jordan Peele was trying to go for with her character, I thought she did pretty good. Steven Yeun, absolutely great. I loved him. I loved him in this movie. I just wish we got to see more of him. And certain side characters I weren't too fond of, except one that kind of embraced a certain perspective and really went for it. But yeah, I think overall, not too shabby. Not too shabby, not too bad. Just, I guess a bit more on Keke Palmer's side. I think she was, again, to me, I think she was a good standout. I think she was a good contrast to her brother in the film. That's a good way to put it. She was a good contrast for that.
Yeah. Yeah, again, I did like the dynamic that the two siblings had. I do like the foils that the two of them were for each other. I thought performances across the board were strong. I feel like Jordan Peele's direction more than anything, like, I feel like his direction like outshined the characters. I feel like most films, like, you know, when a film gets everything right, like, you know, they all just mesh well together. Like, nothing like really not one element like really outshines the other element. And I feel like, okay, like the biggest thing, like the spectacle, right? The spectacle is a word that I think they used a lot in this film. The spectacle and the scale, the suspense and the action, masterful in their own way. I feel like that definitely outshined the characters a bit, but maybe that's just me.
Yeah, I definitely see that, especially at a later date. I think it definitely outshined. It definitely took a pretty drastic turn closer to the end, and I can definitely see that. But again, it's like I liked that it was such a big spectacle that to us as viewers, we got lost in it in all to a certain extent. And again, I think for people going to see this movie, it's that thing, just like every Jordan Peele movie, pay attention. Like, there are things that are a bit more relevant than you may think in a very odd way, but it's relevant to a certain degree. At least the theme of it is. And so, like I said, I personally love Nope. Had a great time. Got to see it with my dad in IMAX in the city. We had a good time. He loved it. I loved it. But yeah, I recommend everyone else, if you're still unsure, if you're seeing the reviews, maybe they're mixed, whatever it may be, go watch it. And because it's you can't really go on how other people. This is very much how you feel is how you feel about it. It's not like a regular action movie where people say, good action," like that's more universal. Where this is, I think, a bit more. It feels, at least to me, for what Jordan Peele was going for, felt more specific towards something. And if you're not okay with a certain revelation, you'll probably be not okay with other revelations in a movie. Because he really subverts your expectations in pretty drastic ways that you probably weren't thinking.
Yeah, overall, I very much enjoyed this film. I could see why some other people wouldn't be as crazy about it. But again, I thought overall this is a very, very well done film. And yeah, no, I had certain expectations, and I have to say this film definitely met those expectations and then some. So for everybody, what did you think of Jordan Peele's Nope? How do you feel it stands out or it compares to the rest of his filmography? Again, we would really, really love to know what it is that you think. I'm not just saying that. I really do mean it. Darius, I know he means it too. And if you liked this review and want more like it, smash that subscribe button and hit the bell to get all notifications for more just like it, whether on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. And that is all that we have for today. Now, due to prior commitments that both Darius and I have, we're going on a little bit of a hiatus over the next couple weeks or so. We'll return Monday, August 22nd. And as far as what we'll be talking about on that show, that's still to be determined. But don't worry, it'll be something to look forward to regardless. We'll see you then. Take care.